Good evening. Welcome. I want some more of those owls or whatever that was, that sound effect. Good evening. Thank you. Welcome to the Peggy Downes Baskin Ethics Lecture. I am Jasmine Allender, Dean of Humanities at UC Santa Cruz. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you. Say a few words, and also to let you know that the bathrooms in this building are not functioning. Yes. So if you need to use them, I would recommend that you go to the building outside to the right or right across from this building, and I apologize for the inconvenience. I would like to begin today by recognizing where UC Santa Cruz is situated by reading our land acknowledgement. The land on which we gather is the unceded territory of the Awaswas-speaking Yupi tribe, the Amamutun tribal band comprised of the descendants of indigenous people taken to missions Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during Spanish colonization of the Central Coast, is today working hard to restore traditional stewardship practices on these lands and heal from historical trauma. This evening, Jennifer Finney Boylan joins us for the 2025 Peggy Downes Baskin Ethics Lecture with a talk titled Amelia Earhart Saved from Drowning. There are a lot of things that need saving right now. And there's no one I'd rather hear from tonight than Jenny Boylan. I have often been on stages like this and said that the humanities must play a central role in solving the complex problems we face and in the iteration of the engaged democracy we aspire to be. Those words feel all the more urgent now with the flurry of executive orders that are cutting at the core of many of the values that I hold most dear and that we espouse in the humanities. In the Humanities Division, we strive to understand how humans seek meaning, forge identities and cultures, and make their voices heard. We prepare students not just for jobs and careers, but for lifelong learning, for happiness, for meaningful engagement in the world. Our Central Student Success Initiative in the Humanities Division is called Employing Humanities. It addresses career preparedness for humanities majors and creates resonant, relevant humanities curriculum for STEM majors, emphasizing ethics, equity, and racial and social justice. And let's not leave out gender and environmental justice so that I can hit all of the keywords that are currently being flagged in federal grants. Speaking of federal grants, we're coming to the end of the project period for a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities to create a new humanities certificate program called Humanizing Technology. It's geared to engineering students. Humanizing Technology encourages students to develop their critical thinking about social and cultural systems that inform new technologies and provides them with tools for becoming socially responsible professionals, including new courses we've made on ethics and technology, race and technology, language technology, and artificial intelligence and human imagination. I'm proud to say that in the short time we've had the certificate launched, we've had 31 students earn it, and we have 345 in the pipeline. It's become clear to me recently how much we need programs like this. Unfortunately, some of those who would benefit most from humanizing technology, particularly those who like wearing tech support t-shirts, are not current college students. Come to think of it, the humanities lens could also be very helpful when deploying AI bots to troll National Science Foundation grants for those key terms I mentioned earlier. Yesterday, I was reviewing the public release of the database of grants flagged for so-called woke nonsense. Name of our first band, Jenny? One grant flagged for gender and social justice from Baylor University in Texas is titled Investigating Fitness Trade-Offs in a Southern Ocean Predator The leopard seal, part 1, non-technical summary trait differences between males and females. You tell me. Closer to home, an NSF project for a postdoctoral fellowship here was flagged for race because it studies black abalone. A large-shelled mollusk found in the rocky tidal areas along the California coast. Black abalone, flagged for race. This is true. Humanists would be quick, I think, to let you know that the white supremacist patriarchy that undergirds and continues to benefit from the structural racism in our country is not a salient factor for the study of the mollusk community. We humanists don't see color, we see shellfish. Okay, turning to tonight's event. This lecture series brings incredible intellectual vibrancy to our campus and alumni community. Past lectures have included Nobel and Pulitzer Prize winning American novelist Toni Morrison, Booker Prize winning author Margaret Atwood, American journalist Ezra Klein, who are also proud to call an alum, and Joy Connolly, president of the American Council of Learned Societies. The Baskin Ethics Lecture Series launched in 2010 thanks to the Peggy Downes Baskin Humanities Endowment for Interdisciplinary Ethics, established in honor of her longtime interest in ethical issues across the academic spectrum. Thank you to the entire Baskin family for your support, and I also want to thank everyone here who has been supporting humanities, and in particular the Humanities Institute, which is celebrating its 25th birthday this year. I would now like to invite Pranav Anand, Professor of Linguistics and Faculty Director of the Humanities Institute, to the stage to introduce our guest speaker. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I was telling Jasmine, that's a tough act. I mean, that was quite a routine. Who would think that mollusks would bring down the house? Maybe we can put something together. Banana slugs, abalone. Okay, all right. I'm not a biologist, as Jasmine said, but thanks so much to Dean Allender for her remarks, and I guess her set, about the history and importance of this event. As well as her support for this series. She thanked a lot of people, but this is not possible without the Humanities Division. And so I just want to thank Jasmine. So as Jasmine said, I'm faculty director of the Humanities Institute, which is the research and public programming arm of the Humanities Division. And in that capacity, it's my privilege to introduce our speaker for this evening, Jennifer Finney Boylan. Before I invite Jenny to the stage, I want to talk a little bit about the logistics of the event. So after her lecture, Jenny will take questions from the audience, and so you got note cards coming in. So write down your questions on the note cards, and there'll be people walking up and down at the conclusion of her lecture, and you can just hold up your note card, or maybe I should say pass it to the aisles, and someone will collect it and bring it up to the stage for us to hear your questions. In addition, finally, this event is being recorded. There's the camera right there. Do you want to come back for another round? Jennifer Finney Boylan is Anna Quinlan Writer-in-Residence and a professor of English at Barnard College. She is, in fact, the inaugural Anna Quinlan Writer-in-Residence at Barnard College, a position that she took up in 2014. Before that, she was at Colby College for a quarter century, starting in 1988. She received her undergraduate degree from Wesleyan and her master's from the writing seminars of Johns Hopkins, working under John Barth, Edward Albee, Doris Grumbach, and John Irwin. Jenny is the author. I know there was, okay, now I'll tell you what you should gasp at next. Jenny is the author of 19 books. I like that applause is for my delivery and not for your books. These include several works of fiction, beginning with the book of short stories, Remind Me to Murder You Later, and then the twin novels, The Planets and the Constellations, which revolve around the residents of Centralia, Pennsylvania, a borough that, and this is real life now, has a coal seam fire that's been burning in abandoned coal mines underneath it since 1962. Most recently, she's released Long Black Veil, a madcap murder mystery, and Mad Honey, a thriller she co-wrote with Jodi Picoult that involves alternating narrators, one going forward in time and the other one going backward in time. I should also say it's a great novel about beekeeping. I love beekeeping, so I really enjoyed that aspect most of all. I've always wanted to be a beekeeper. This is maybe the closest I'll ever get. In addition, she's the author of the Falcon Quinn series, 3 children's books that follow Falcon and his 4 fellow monster friends as they navigate school and what it means to be themselves in a world that is alternately ignorant of and hostile to their kind. Alongside that career in fiction, Jenny is a prolific practitioner of the literary memoir. She has 5 of them. Starting with She's Not There, A Life in Two Genders, then I'm Looking Through You, Growing Up Haunted, a memoir about what it means to be affected by the specters of your past. Then Stuck in the Middle with You, a memoir of parenting in 3 genders. Then Good Boy, My Life in 7 Dogs, and exactly 1 month to today, amazingly, Cleavage, Men, Women, and the Space Between Us. I got a laugh here. It's fair to say that She's Not There, Jenny's 2003 memoir of her life as a transgender woman, is what catapulted her to fame. A bestseller, it led to multiple appearances on Oprah, The Today Show, and Larry King Live, which was memorably parodied by SNL. And it made her America's transgender sweetheart. Those are her somewhat facetious words at her book talk at Bookshop Santa Cruz last week. But it's fair to say that the book made Jenny a prominent face of and voice for trans people, a tricky case of representation that Jenny discusses in very frank terms in Cleavage, actually. Jenny's memoirs, funny but often unflinching, like I just mentioned, and suffused with emotion, have helped millions of readers to connect with her psyche, her narrative, her pain, and her joy, and in so doing, gain a little understanding of what it's like to be transgender. That comes partly through the quality of Jenny's prose, which is fractured and perspectively shifting in a destabilizing but deeply compelling way. Despite her memoirs being about her and from her voice, there are actually many different versions of Jenny active at any given point in a text. This way of slipping between perspectives is not a purely literary device. It explodes the notion of a unified self. In Good Boy, she writes, and I quote now, "When I was young, I was haunted by the person I imagined I could never be. Now that I am old, what shocks me is not that. Against all odds, I became that person. What shocks me now is that all the boys and men I once was still live within my heart." The reader of any of Jenny's memoirs is thus not reading just a narrative, but experiencing a polyphony of selves at multiple points in time. And I have in here as a parenthesis just for you, sort of like the Trafalmadorians in Slaughterhouse-Five. The form helps to analogize the tension or the paradox or the contradiction that Jenny is conveying about her life. That is, of course, that crux is at the core of Jenny's own story, but it speaks to a deeper question, one about the way that memories live in and alongside all of us. In another passage talking about that, she writes, "I think it also helped to destabilize my own notion of myself as something unitary. I think we always have memories of past selves that confound us, like having the memories of another person, but we tend to sublimate them." Formalism aside, Jenny has a platform, and she's used that platform as a space for advocacy, contributing to a range of resources for the LGBTQIA+ audience, including Trans Bodies, Trans Selves, a resource for the transgender community, It Gets Better, You Are You, Sexual Metamorphosis, an anthology of transsexual memoirs, and How Beautiful the Ordinary, 12 Stories of Identity. She is also published widely in magazines and journals, most notably as a contributing opinion writer for the New York Times from 2007 to 2022. In that capacity, she wrote dozens of columns advocating for transgender equality, sometimes stridently, and other times simply and unapologetically by documenting her own life. Here I am. A subtle political act that, in the present moment, as federal edicts move us to a less equal world, as Jasmine was mentioning, and as billionaire owners foreclose the opinions of national newspapers, this can feel like an act of uncommon bravery. Alongside her teaching and writing, Jenny is also engaged with a range of advocacy organizations over the years. She served on the board of directors of the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, GLAAD, from 2011 to 2018, becoming the first openly transgender co-chair of the GLAAD board in 2013. She also serves on the board of trustees of the Kinsey Institute. And linking back to her advocacy, she is now in her second year as president of PEN America, the foremost organization dedicated to advocating for free speech in the US. 2 years ago, she was the Marilyn Beaudry Corbett Schlesinger Fellow at the Radcliffe Institute. I should have practiced that name. As part of that fellowship, she delivered the Heisenberg Variations, a lecture that combined Jenny's writing, thinking about the nature of change, and her long-standing love for music in a multi-genre performance. This year, Jenny is THI's Scholar in Residence, and for us tonight, she's delivering a new work in a similar mode, Amelia Earhart, Saved from Drowning. We're definitely in for a treat. But we are also in for some soul-searching, I assume. Engaging with Jenny's work attentively is always an exercise in self-examination for the engager themselves. And as part of that, let me close with 2 quotes of Jenny's in apposition that you can think about as she starts. So here's the first one. This is from Good Boy. I wanted to say something like, what is it like being you? But it wasn't the kind of question you could ask, and even if you did, how would she, the person she's thinking of, respond? In my experience, it turns out that many people don't have the slightest clue of what it would be like not to be themselves, and in fact, find the question kind of strange. But of course, it was all I could think about. The second quote, and this is from an op-ed that she wrote called In 17 Years, I'll Still Know My Own Heart. Change is frightening, but even more frightening is the prospect of always remaining the same. Year after year, every last one of us morphs into something new and strange, transfigured by time from flesh to soul. With that, I'd like to invite Jennifer Finney Boylan to the stage to deliver the 13th Peggy Downes Baskin Ethics Lecture. Thank you.
What's it like to fly in an airplane? Asks the boy. I should love to do it someday. I can't remember. They sit upon the beach looking out at the hateful sea. Were you not afraid of crashing? Says Sparrow. Oh, I should be if it were me. Well, she says, perhaps I should have been more afraid of it than I was. Will you fly again, asks the boy, after my father comes to rescue us? The father, Lord Greystone, took the settlers back to Canton back in 1933 when the Brits decided to abandon their Pacific colonies. He'd shepherded the last of the settlers onto the HMS Bridewell, the cooks, the school teachers, the families, the many soldiers. But you shall stay here until my return, Greystone told his son, barely concealing his loathing. Sergeant Cabot, the schoolmaster, had been escorted onto the ship in irons. Perhaps the time alone will give you a chance to reflect upon your sins. Well, I'd like to fly again, says Amelia, if I could. There's no place in the world where you feel so free up there. Sparrow looks up into the clouds. I've never felt that way. Free, I mean. What's it like? Amelia remembers the end of her first solo trip across the Atlantic, putting the plane down in a field. A farmer had come up to her as she popped out of the plane. Excuse me, she said. Where am I? Why, said the man with an Irish accent, you're in Gallagher's pasture. Sparrow loves cooking. Not that there are that many options for fine dining, but sometimes if Amelia has caught a mess of bluethroats or octopus, they make a kind of stew over the open fire, flavored with coconut milk and the leaves of a plant that tastes like pine needles. Oh, my father doesn't like me cooking, says Sparrow. He says it's a woman's job. But I like mixing things together, and I like feeding people. Someday I'm going to have a big family, and I'm going to make soup for all of them, and hot bread with jam. How many children are you going to have? Asks Amelia. Oh, 9 or 10, I should think. Boys or girls? Well, all girls except one boy who will protect them. Do you have any brothers or sisters? No, it was just me and Father. My mother died when she was having me. I wish I'd had brothers and sisters. It would have been so jolly. He looks over at Amelia. Do you have children? No, says Amelia. I always thought they'd keep me from doing what I wanted to be doing. Were you always a lady, or were you a boy before? Amelia laughs. The things you ask, Sparrow. Oh, I wished I was a lady lots of times. It seems like ever so much fun. Amelia thinks about this. After the months of starvation, her breasts have all but disappeared. You could be forgiven for thinking the two were brothers. What do you think would be fun about it? Oh, the softness. It's less fun than you'd think, says Amelia. On Christmas Day, he gives her a coconut that he's carved to look like a human face. Happy Christmas, says Sparrow. Oh, I'm so sorry, says Amelia. I'd forgotten what day it was. I made him look like Mr. Cabot with his pop eyes. He was my only friend, you know, before you washed up. But my father says he was the wrong kind of friend to have. At midday, she goes out onto the beach with a shovel. Then she returns to the camp, asks Sparrow to come see. There, she's piled up sand in the shape of an airplane. There's a hole for the cockpit. Oh, A-E, he says, my own flying machine. Here, you sit up next to me, up front. You be co-pilot. Sparrow climbs into the hole. A piece of bamboo is the stick. Go on, start us up. Sparrow makes the sound of droning engines. And the Electra moves down the runway, gaining speed. Pull back on the stick, says Amelia. I am, says Sparrow. Nothing's happening. Use your head, says Amelia. Think. I'm trying, but the believing is hard. Come on, urges Amelia. Get up, get up. What's going to happen? The boy shouts. We're going to crash. Amelia remembers the ground loop in Hawaii, how the wing had dropped at the last minute and the landing gear had snapped off, the smell of the fuel as it spewed all over the runway, the look the navigator had given her as they walked away, the cruel letter he'd written her afterward. I cannot go with you if you try this again, A.E., he'd written. If you do this trip, I think it will be your death warrant, and that of everyone who travels with you. You're not going to crash, says Amelia. You're going to rise. And they do. From this height, they can see the freshwater lagoon in the center, the green hills and the cliffs of the highlands, the old buildings of the abandoned settlement around the clearing. Then they go higher until cold plumes of cloud begin to drift around them. I better come back down now, says Sparrow. Are you sure? Says Amelia. You can stay up as long as you like. Oh, I wouldn't want to spend too much time up here. You'd forget what your life was like before. They come in low. Sparrow puts down the landing gear. There's a sharp squeal as the rubber tires hit the tarmac, and then they glide to a stop. Hooray, shouts the boy, leaping to his feet. We're back. Very nice landing, says Amelia. Very well done. Sparrow puts his arms around her, hugs her tight. Thank you, thank you. That was brilliant. They return to camp in high spirits. That evening, they sit around the fire and sing some carols. Oh, sisters two, how may we do for to preserve this day, this poor youngling for whom we sing, bye bye lule lule. Then woe is me, poor child, for thee, and ever mourn and say, for thy parting nor say nor sing, bye bye lule lule. The next morning, Boxing Day, Sparrow rushes out to the beach to fly the sandplane again. But the rising tide has washed it away. She said that we can be whoever we want to be. The future's right there in your hand. Is that still true if she crashed into the sea or washed up somewhere on the sand? She flew around the world, pretty good for a girl. Was the thing she feared most just romance? Too late for a dance. The morning of her marriage, A.E. wrote a little note. George, she said, you cannot pin me down. I'm sorry if in loving you I seem cold and remote. Your kindness makes me fear I'm going to drown. All of this so she could say, gotta fly away, was the thing that she feared most just romance. She's late for a dance. Do you ever feel like you're living in between? You can sing this lonesome lullaby. Even when you're loved, some days you still feel all alone. This world ain't made for damselflies. It was so long ago. The thing I do not know was the thing I fear most, just romance. I'm late for a dance. A few days later, as they eat their supper, Amelia asks, "Why do they call you Sparrow?" Hello? No, I'm doing something right now. Yeah. No, it's the Jenny Boylan thing. Yeah, she's doing a story and a singing, and I don't know. Yeah, no, we're still waiting to see if it's going to come together. So, okay, no, I gotta go. Thanks. No, I love you too. A few days later, as they eat their supper, Amelia says, "Why do they call you Sparrow?" He doesn't reply right away. "I don't feel well." "What's wrong?" "Oh, I don't feel like myself. I keep having dreams about that man in the tie, Fred." Fred? Fred who? Your navigator, Fred. He says you're going to steal me. Steal you how? He says you're going to take my name so that you can be called Sparrow. "Well, Fred drowned," Amelia says, "when the Electra went down." "I know. He lives in the ocean now." Amelia thinks this over. "Well, Sparrow's a lovely name, but I've already got my own." "Is Earhart really your name? It's so queer." "My husband is named Putnam, so I'm really Mrs. George Putnam, although my friends call me A.E., and my mother called me Millie. Oh, and my father called my mother Della. She was the Duchess of Arundel." "Does that make you a duke, Sparrow?" He looks at her like she does not know anything. "That's not how it works." "Explain it." "My father is the Earl of Greystone. He's also Baron Monmouth. When he dies, I become Earl of Greystone. Until then, I'm Lord Monmouth." "What about your mother, the Duchess?" "She was Duchess of Arundel, but when she married my father, she became Countess." "Countess Arundel?" "No, Lady Greystone." Amelia just laughs. "I don't know how you keep it all straight." "Well, it's not hard. You just follow the rules." "And if your father has another son, will he be Lord Monmouth also?" "He won't. He won't have another son. My mother is dead." "Yeah, but, if he remarried." Sparrow's eyes flush with tears. His lower lip trembles. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you." Well, you have. Why would you say something so beastly?" Sparrow, don't you ever think about what's happening in the world while we're here? I think about it. Everyone's lives going forward without us. He's coming back for me. He gave me his word. She tries to say it gently, but there's no gentle way to say it, not really. Sparrow, sometimes people break their promises. They don't mean to, but they do. Not if they're good people. It's not about goodness. You can't control everything that happens. I promised my husband I'd return to him, but we crashed. Now I'm here. Well, maybe you shouldn't have promised something you couldn't make come true. Maybe you shouldn't lie to people. Maybe I shouldn't, she says. He doesn't get out of bed the next day. Amelia finds him in the hut, his temples drenched with sweat. Oh, I'm so sick. Tell me what's wrong. My tummy hurts. Oh, it's like needles sticking in me. Amelia puts one hand on his forehead. The boy has a fever. It's been a long time since she was a nurse, but she's seen this before. I'm going to touch you and want you to tell me if it hurts. What's happening to me? She presses down on the lower right side of his abdomen. Sparrow screams in pain. Tears spill over his eyelashes and run down his face. Ow, 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 ow. Oh, make it stop. Amelia sits by the side of the boy's bed, considering the near future. It's your appendix, Sparrow. I'll be good. I'll be good. Tell Mr. Cabot I won't be bad. I'll be right back, she says, goes to the shed. There are 2 knives and a shovel. From the other room, she hears the boy moaning in agony. Oh, I cannot do this, she thinks. I've never operated on anyone. Plus, there's no anesthesia, no way to keep the wound from getting infected. She imagines the whole scene, the blood spilling everywhere, the child screaming, the sepsis setting in, and in the end, terrible death. What would be the point? Amelia walks through the thick jungle that leads back to the deserted village, down the path that leads to the beach. There she finds the suitcase that had belonged to her navigator, Fred Noonan, containing the bottle of his whiskey. She'd had 1 sip that first day after she washed up here half dead after Fred himself went down. It had been his suitcase that had saved her, emerging from the sinking plane to breach the waves like Queequeg's coffin. Amelia goes back to the boy's bedside. What's going to happen? You have to tell me. You're very sick, Sparrow. How sick? Am I going to die? I don't know. Oh, you have to save me. He reaches forward and clutches her khaki shirt. I'll be quiet as a mouse. I promise I'll be good. She holds the boy's hand, looking into his hollow eyes. Okay, she says. Can you get Annabelle for me? If I hold her, it will help me be brave. Okay. She gets the doll, which is sitting on the dresser full of school uniforms, gives it to the boy. Now, I want you to drink this, she says. Give Sparrow the bottle of whiskey. Drink as much of it as you can. While you do that, I'm going to get things ready. Oh, thank you for saving me. I haven't saved you yet. She gets the sewing kit from the kitchen, also gathers together the clothes that she was wearing when she crashed. They're not much more than rags now anyway, but they'll help sop up the blood. She takes a smaller knife from the kitchen, carries it out to the fire where she boils it in a small pot. It's not sterile exactly, but it will have to do. When she gets back to the bedchamber, Sparrow is lying in the bed with a wan smile. The whiskey bottle is almost empty. See, I drank it just like I was supposed to. Okay, she says. Amelia lays everything out on a sheet. She pours a little of the whiskey on the boy's groin. Are you ready? Here we go. Whoops. Now I've lost one of my picks. It's okay, I can put him back on again. It's just like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. You knocked his block off. This is an auto harp, by the way. Some of you may have never seen one of these played unironically. First time for everything. Yeah, like playing it in the wrong key. There is a reason. Is that the right? Oh no, I was right the first time. There is a reason we carry our lunches in boxes and bags that we tie up with strings. Someone is talking, but no one is listening. The words that they tell you here don't mean a thing. Pick your things, then we'll go down to the land of the ice and the snow. You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel, picking the daisies and dreams of the crazies are just pretty phrases for me. You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel. Being funny is no fun at sea. There is a reason we sing in the quagmire with cockles and skulls and the boxes of slime. Sundays the basses with trombones and cases. Time middle class waitresses practicing mime. Pick your things, then we'll head back to the land of the Dan. There is a reason we die in the gutter while ingrates with dog plates and bastards run free. There is a morning that waits in the curtains. I look in the mirror, I never see me. Spend your life down there, down in the land of the smoke in the air. You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel, picking the daisies and dreams of the crazies are just pretty phrases for me. You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel. Being funny is no fun at sea. Being funny is no fun for me. At first, she thinks the operation is a success. It's taken 2 hours, but she found the appendix like an earthworm in a coffee can. Then she sewed him up. Sparrow lay in a daze. He slept the rest of the day. Amelia mopped up the blood with her old clothes, took them to the fire pit and burned them. She wiped the sweat from his brow, sat by his side as he dozed and dreamed. Sparrow slept right past sunset into the night. From outside his cabin came the sounds of bats flapping through the air, the thrumming of insects, and always, always the relentless sound of waves crashing on the sand. Sparrow wakes towards dawn and opens his eyes slowly, like curtains rising in a dim room. Well, they've all come to see me off. How do you feel, dear? Oh, I guess I'm finished. No, Sparrow, you're going to get well. Everything went perfectly. Oh, you did the best you could. I'm sorry I have to leave you here on your own. You're not going anywhere. We're going to be here together until your father comes. Look, there he is, Sparrow says and points toward the door. They're all here. Mr. Cabot, your navigator, Fred, my mother, too. Get some rest, Sparrow, says Amelia, picks up the doll, which has fallen to the floor, places it in the boy's hand. Don't let anything upset you now. But that's just the thing. I'm not upset at all. I thought I'd be scared, but I'm not. You're very brave. It was you who showed me how, up in the plane. He closes his eyes, and Amelia thinks that he's fallen asleep, but then he opens them again. He says, I have so many memories. Stabbed a big dark cloud. Amelia didn't doubt out loud. Night before takeoff, so drunk he was drowned. Fred said that he'd happily stay here all safe on the ground. But the next day, Electra flew away. Here is the anisette, old friend, did you forget? Love is the wise man's revenge. Last words on the radio late. I'm on you, I can't see you, mate. Was it a spectacle? Was she off course? Would it have just been easier to get a divorce and be found? Electra, see you around. Here is the anisette, old friend, did you forget? Love is the wise man's revenge. disappear. Washed up with Sparrow, but then the Sparrow died. The rescue ship asked, "Who are you?" But then Amelia lied. "I'm a boy, Electra, ahoy." Here is the anisette, old friend, did you forget? Love is the wise man's revenge. Seven days later, she's walking down the beach holding an octopus she has speared. She's wearing a schoolboy's uniform, one that had belonged to Sparrow. The tentacles hang down. Then she sees footprints in the sand. They belong to someone wearing shoes. And now, here's the man himself, standing by a rowboat, a small steamship anchored just offshore. He wears the uniform of a British naval officer. A half-dozen seamen stand just behind him. "Lord Greystone," the officer says. Amelia pauses and looks at the man as if gazing upon the pages of a book written in a language she once knew. "Oh, he's dead," she says, and drops the octopus. "Indeed, sir," says the officer. "Killed 5 years ago, just after he left the settlement. In fact, a Japanese attack out of the Phoenix Islands. I'm very sorry, son." "What?" "Oh, it took a long time for word to reach us. Longer still for us to reach this God-forsaken place. Please accept my condolences. You are Earl of Greystone now. We have come to take you home." Amelia looks down the beach. She can see the cairn where she buried him. "I'm Captain Partridge," says the officer. "And may I just say, I'm damn glad to see you alive, sir. Damn glad." Says Amelia, "Listen, I'm not, I must say," says Partridge, "you've changed." Karen had some problems with the moon. She made a joke. Her husband said, "Too soon." She wondered as she stared up at the sky whether she'd just been a jerk in junior high. Laika was a dog. They shot her into space. Come out of the fog and find your grace. On a railroad bridge, Karen felt inclined to take one tiny step for womankind. Sarah gave the devil what was his. told her husband, you know how it is, looking up as Venus gently rose, gave her right-wing friend a bloody nose. Laika was a dog, they shot her into space. Come out of the fog and find your grace. Sarah didn't like the present day. She yelled at her phone, I'll make those bastards pay. Lisa had some issues with the sun. The way it shone just made her feel so dumb. She told her husband, none of this is real. Life is just a brand name for some cereal. Laika was a dog, they shot her into space. Come out of the fog, find your grace. Way up yonder, past the planet blue, where you say things twice to make them true. Anything you say twice is true. Laika was a dog, they shot her into space. Come out of the fog, come out of the fog, come out of the fog and find your grace. Thank you. Well, that's it. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. What do you think, Pranav? That was amazing. There's a chair. There's a... Thank you, thank you. And now, the appearance of the mystery chairs. We have a professional staff of chair assistants, one of whom is Maya, who I want to thank. I thank you too, but I don't know you, so. Hi, thank you too.
Congratulations to us all.
Okay, there we go. All right, what the hell was that?
That was pretty amazing. So this is the moment before I start.
Yeah.
This is the moment when you all are scribbling furiously your questions and then passing them up here so that we up to the aisles and then they'll be collected. Okay. So yeah, what was that? That was amazing.
That was kind of a, I would call it a mosaic of story and song.
It was incredible.
I know, it was amazing, right?
It was so amazing.
Stop. Yeah, all right.
So
Also, before anything, I want to, she's not here, but I want to give a special shout out to my friend Emily Flake from The New Yorker, who some of you may recognize those drawings from the magazine. She's kind of like, if you don't know Emily Flake, you should. She's kind of like the millennial Roz Chast, and she's just a wonderful force for good in this world. And she did all those illustrations for this.
they're
lecture.
beautiful.
Yeah, they're pretty watercolors.
Yeah.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you. I do have a question about those, but first, can we start at the beginning?
Yeah, what do you want to know?
So in the blurb, you had that you're going to explore the price women pay for their freedom. So, can we talk about that?
Yeah.
So, I saw some things that you were exploring, but I wondered. Let me, in the spirit of your mosaic, give you some words as a kind of tone poem, and then you can. All
right. I'm gonna try to make myself receptive.
So at the beginning, Amelia and Sparrow are talking about children, right? What kinds of children do you want to have, and then do you have any? And then your song, I gave titles to all of them so I could remember them.
I was thinking of.
Do they have titles?
Yeah, the songs are titles. I started with an instrumental, which I also ended with. That's called Laika the dog. Some of you don't remember Laika, although many of you are of a certain age.
Yeah.
Laika was the first living being shot into space by the Russians back in the 50s. They didn't bring her back, which is, So that's Laika. And then I came over here and sang a piece that I actually wrote on Monday, which was, I call it Damselfly, which is, what was that song?
I'm late for
She's
a
late
dance.
for a dance.
That's what
the
I
swirl
call
I
that.
made for damselflies.
Yeah,
late for a dance. And then I came back again, and I did a song called "There Is a Reason," which is a waltz. That's funny because that's a song I've had around for a while. In fact, for a very, very long time. And in some ways, I wrote it before. Actually when I was like a teenager, practically, when I was about not being able, there's a lot of reference to like smoke in the air and living down below, and it's kind of a land of hell, it's kind of like this land of kind of being trapped, and the line, I'm just realizing right now, my friend Ralph is here from Wesleyan, and I realized that the chorus of that song, "You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel," is a joke. It's from a joke that I was told by Alan Avner in 1977. So, and Alan is a mutual friend of ours, the late Alan Avner, a friend of Ralph's and mine. And I was realizing while I was playing this, I'll bet Ralph remembers this joke. Do you remember that joke? Yeah, okay. Did you tell me the joke? Okay, all right.
Okay, what's the joke?
Well, there's a song called "You Picked a Fine Time to Leave Me Lucille."
Lucille. Yeah. Okay.
You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel. I think it's Kenny Rogers. Anyway, loose wheel. So there was that. Then the instrumental on the piano is called the Terror Chord, for apparently obvious reasons. And then I came back and "Love is the Wise Man's Revenge." And then the last one I came back and I did Laika again, but I sang it this time.
Okay, so I got at least one of them. The "Love was a Wise Man's Revenge" I got.
Yeah.
I thought that other one was called "Loose Wheel." I mean, it seems
Loose
like
wheel. Well, maybe it should be called "Loose Wheel." I don't know.
But okay, but back to the I'm late for a dance. What was that called?
Damselfly.
Damselfly. Thank you.
Yeah.
So there, there's a discussion about her fearing romance, right? You can't pin me down.
Yeah.
And then later on, Sparrow is explaining, I guess, hereditary privilege, and says, you just follow the rules, right? And so I thought about those in relation to the price women pay for their freedom. So
well, that's the story that's in the middle verse there. She really did when she married her husband, George Putnam. A very, very long story, but on the morning that they got married, she gave him this letter, and the letter says, "Listen, if you want to do this, we can go through with it, but you need to know, neither of us need to be tied down to one another and be monogamous. And if we can't agree on that, then we just shouldn't do this. Also, you have to agree that if we're not happy a year from now, we'll just divorce. We'll just, get out of it. So Amelia was just clearly this free spirit, and she advocated for it's funny, aviation was in the 20s. Aviation, it was like this national fad, and it was this wonderful trend. It came along with women's suffrage, because women, because flying a plane is something that there's no kind of physical advantage to flying a plane. And so Amelia was very big into advocating that women should fly, should become aviatrixes. She kept kind of pushing herself farther and farther and farther until she did this probably foolish last trip around the world. There's a line I couldn't fit into the song, but it still gives me chills. Before she left, she had an interview, and the interviewer said, "So what will you do when you get back?" And she said, "Well, I'm not sure, but I might be pregnant. So
Wow.
after the trip, I'll just be a woman." It's like, holy shit, wow. So, so no wonder she crashed her plane.
Thank you, Maya.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because until a few months ago, I would have said we live in this era where we encourage women and that you have the same opportunities as men, and you should don't let anything hold you back. Whereas now I kind of wonder if that's still true, if that's still the message that we're getting. And the idea of Amelia just trying to get away from all of this is haunting, because she came so close. She crashed on the last leg was to Howland Island, and after that it was Howland to Los Angeles, and she would have been done.
Oh, wow.
She was all set to land on the 4th of July of 1938.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's a question, I mean, we're talking about this, about what inspired you to write about Amelia Earhart. Is she someone you were always interested in? How did
No,
you arise?
I've started and stopped a project a couple times that I'm trying to start again, called Imaginary Women, and someone who is trapped in a situation, it's fiction, someone who's trapped in a situation that is a terrible situation that they don't want to be in. They're essentially prisoner in their life. Uses the idea of reinventing the lives of various heroines who died too soon, or just trying to invent different lives for each of them as a source of power. That maybe these ancestors can help her in the present day find freedom from where she is. And so I like the idea of Amelia Earhart, on an island and winding. I mean, I wanted to write a whole novel in which she goes back to England and becomes Lord Greystone, and nobody ever knows the difference. But I might still do that, but I don't think I will. I also there are other women I wanted to write about. Mama Cass, in which she does not die. She never choked on a ham sandwich, by the way. That was a lie that they came up with, because they thought that was less shameful than having a drug overdose. So Mama Cass does not die. Who are the other women I wanted to rescue? Gilda Radner, Josephine Baker, Nellie Bly, the great reporter. Radcliffe Hall. So there's a lot of kind of women who I think of as my own Greek chorus. Maybe not a Greek chorus, but I don't know, an American chorus, who I hope can help me out a little bit and help all of us who feel so stuck. Because here are all these women who did amazing things. Amelia Earhart flew across the Atlantic Ocean by herself. Gilda Radner was the heart and soul of that early version of Saturday Night Live. Anyway, so all these women are well, I guess they've become mythological now, but they can still be used as, I think, inspiration for us, even in this present horrible moment when we all are trying to get free. That's what Sparrow was saying. What's it like to be free? Mm-hmm. Because obviously Sparrow is this gay child who's been essentially abandoned by his father as a punishment for something that happened with Mr. Cabot. We're not exactly clear, but it's not good. So yeah, everybody's trying to get free. That's, I guess, what you find in all these pieces.
I see.
Do you? You don't sound convinced.
I'm still thinking about it. I guess...
You sound unconvinced.
No, I'm not unconvinced. I'm processing, the way in which... I guess there's a kind of paradox between the like, people as inspiration and also, like, for many of these people, it's remarkable as you name them, there's they died too soon kind of tragic narrative. Like when you were mentioning Amelia Earhart, what occurred to me is I grew up learning that there's a mystery about where she is and not about the achievements. Her sort of achievements are overshadowed by this tragedy, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking about, this sort of, I understand that like reclamatory project, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking.
Well, what are we talking about when we talk about Amelia Earhart? Are we talking about, are we talking about aviation and achievement? We're kind of not talking about that. We're talking about, there's something about that. It's absolutely that she's a woman. It's absolutely that she looked very androgynous, could easily have been mistaken. In fact, when she landed in Gallagher's pasture in Northern Ireland, the farmer that she was in conversation with thought that she was a man. She said, and I was going to put that in, but then I thought it would be just too much. So Amelia is. There were a lot of plane crashes. Why are we haunted by Amelia? Because of the fact that she's a woman and that she was trying to do something impossible, which I think we all... there's kind of an anger about Amelia disappearing, right? Because, Amelia Earhart, she shouldn't just disappear. You can't just take Amelia away from us. What? It's like, what would I compare it to? It's like, I don't know, the suicide of Robin Williams. It's like, really? Robin? I guess somebody said something to me once, and I'm not going to quote it right, but we're having this conversation, and he was kind of like, we're all haunted by the fact that she died, but you know how she could have not died. She couldn't have gone on that stupid, dangerous flight. She could have stayed home. Like, really? She could have stayed home. Okay. Where have I heard that advice before?
Indeed. So, can I ask about one other like series of?
I'm all yours. Pranav.
So, I'm trying to figure out which one it's from. I think it's in Damselfly as well. It's the being funny is no fun.
Oh yeah, there's a reason.
Being funny is no fun for me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that as well when you were talking about, and in part it's because I've been watching all of the Saturday Night Live, coverage, and that line as well. Just like you were talking about it, she could have stayed home. Like the nature of, like in our contemporary moment of women in comedy. And I wondered could you comment a little bit?
Well, that one is very specific. Again, that's a song from about the days when I was just kind of stuck. It was before Dee Dee came into my life. It was before I had a family. I was living in New York City. I was trying to be a writer, but my writing wasn't any good. And I just I was working these horrible jobs, and yet I always have had a sense of humor, and I've always responded to some of the worst situations with humor, which is not about denial of the seriousness of the various predicaments that I've been in and that other people I've seen have been in. It's, to me, laughter, real laughter, the laughter of wisdom is the kind of, it's not the kind of, it's the laughter of someone who has found a kind of hard-won joy, or is still searching for that joy. Maybe, at least when I wrote that song, I haven't actually attained it yet. I can tell you this, all of the transgender people I know, every single one of them, is this true? I think, let's say most, just in case, are really funny people. There's just, in that, actually, weren't we talking about this just the other night, that there's something about being born with this just absolutely, in a way, absurd condition, this just curious embodiment. You're like 6 years old and you're having to get your mind around the mind-body problem. When other kids are like, playing with like Legos, you're trying to think about, the relationship between the way you feel and the body that you're in. And so I think the fundamental absurdity of the impulse is a thing that has, compels people to have a sense of humor, and because it's about because your life has a fundamental absurdity to it. So when I wrote that line, being funny is no fun at sea, I definitely felt at sea in my life at that time, and being funny was kind of all I had, and yet it got me here. It's in a way, what a great survival. And that was my what's the suitcase of Fred Noonan's that rises up from the wreck. There really was a line of Amelia Earhart luggage, by the way. She had her name all over everything, including a kind of there's a cigarette called Chesterfields, and there are these wonderful old photographs of Amelia Earhart, with a Chesterfield smoke. When I am up above the clouds, I reach for a chest, and it was Amelia Earhart luggage. So I'm imagining that Fred had some Amelia Earhart luggage. So that was mine. My sense of humor was the thing that buoyed me up, and I've seen it with other trans people too, and other people who are members of variously oppressed and marginalized groups. Oh my God, I can't say I've found anything funny about the last month, but
there are hilarious things, like $8 billion. The arithmetic of Doge is pretty hilarious. No, it's horrific, but it's also hilarious. The incompetence is sort of like what you expect from a TV show.
Yeah.
You can't help but it's astonishing.
I think we swing back and forth though, because it is funny, but it's also our lives.
Yeah.
And people are actually being erased. Both. Well, I don't think anyone's been wiped out yet, but then people's lives people are going to lose their lives, especially young people who suddenly find that there's no place for them in the world, that they're all going to feel like Sparrow.
That's, yeah. Can I ask about one other thing?
Yeah.
So you talk about being funny. The other line that I was thinking about is the love is a wise man's revenge. One thing in your work is the way in which, in addition to humor, love is actually a major vehicle for salvation for you.
Yeah, and it's funny because talking and singing about love, it just seems like, it seems like a fruitless endeavor because it's just so embarrassing, we've all had to suffer the conversation in which someone with a dopey smile on their face thinks that we can love our way out of the oppression that we feel. And yet, we all know that humor and love, I think of those together in a way, that's really kind of all we have, right? The love that we have for one another. I've told the story 800 million times, but when I came out as trans, my evangelical Christian Republican mother put her arms around me and quoted 1 Corinthians and said, the greatest of these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. And I was weeping at the time. She wiped the tears from my face and said, love will prevail. And so you can roll your eyes at that if you want, but it actually happened, and in the end, I guess it's one of the good things about getting older is that you can say kind of corny things and just know that they're true, and know that if young people just find them annoying, that you're kind of like, well, let's talk in 20 years, because it's also, I think it's also this, as artists, we want to be, we want to be angry, these bastards. There's a line in there about one of the women in Leica. Yeah. She is yelling at her phone. I'll make those bastards pay. I have a relative who is constantly yelling at his phone like that. And I just want to say, look, they can't hear you. Just walk away. It's making you so upset. But we, as artists, we want to be, we want to be punk. We want to be loud. We want to be rock and roll. And art that is full of vitriol is kind of the kind of art you want to make when you're young. Uh-huh. And I'm no less angry than I was when I was 20. In fact, I'm so much angrier than I was even a year ago. I'm furious. And yet, what I have now that I didn't have when I was young is a sense that, what does Mr. Rogers say? Look for the helpers. And one of the helpers is wisdom. And in the heart of wisdom is knowing that there is such a thing as love, and it can come from unexpected sources, and it will outlast us all. And it will outlast this current age, and it will certainly outlast the current president. By the way, how's his press conference going?
Oh yeah, we scheduled this precisely
anybody checking their phone? I hope you weren't checking. Oh. Thank you. So, yeah, love.
So that is love is a wise man's revenge. That's love. The form of revenge.
Well, in a way, it's it doesn't have to be Christian. I think I associate that with kind of a Christian mentality of the world. But, Christians don't have, they haven't cornered the market on love. And actually, depending on the church, things can go the other way too. But, yeah.
Okay, so one last one, and then there's some more general questions that people want to ask you. I just wanted to stay on the topic of this performance. Would you call it? Would you call it a lecture? Would you call
no,
it?
No, it's not a lecture really. It's a performance. So, although I love driving up the hill, ethics lecture.
Ethics lecture.
I thought, well, when I get done with my thing, I want to go to that. But it is. To the extent that it's a lecture, because there is, I hope, a firm moral in this ambiguous tale and the ambiguous songs, and it is that love will save us and will redeem us, and that we can't be saved from every last plane crash we wind up in. And some of the situations we'll find ourselves in are absurd. And there's no getting around the fact that, especially for women and trans men, and for so many of us, the limits and shackles are either on us or being attempted to put upon us, and we're trying to fight back against that. And we're not going to be 100% successful all the time, but we have to keep dreaming. We have to, we have to get in that little sand plane and fly it around, because, you do feel free up there. And then take that back here and keep it in your heart and try to, try to change the world with it.
Hear, hear. That was... So I wanted to ask about this line towards the end, anything you say twice is true, which has like an especially like potentially sinister tone in our present moment.
Yeah, it does. It does. I guess that was a little nod to the present day. Yeah, there's not. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, other than that it was an acknowledgement that we have lost a sense of shared reality, and that's really scary. How do we see? How do we find a common reality? I think what we want to do is to see through each other's eyes, to use that thing Edmund Burke called the moral imagination. The ability to imagine, truly understand what life is like for people who aren't you. And this is the key to, I think, to understanding and to fighting back against this kind of fearful world that we live in, a world in which it seems that there is one way of being human, or actually, I guess two. There's men are going to be over here eating steak, women over there with little salads, and that's kind of it, And to understand that there is a whole world of people in the middle, and not just men and women, but everybody who doesn't fit in. The most important thing that's needed is imagination. That you cannot understand anyone else's world without being able to imagine them and know who they are and know what their story is. And so that's my hope. And what was the line you were queuing? I forget.
The anything you say twice is true.
Yeah. Well, I guess in a way what we want to do is find a higher standard for truth, I think, than simply
statement, yes,
having been
I agree.
said twice.
That seems like a lofty goal, currently.
Yeah. Well, I said it was an ethics lecture.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So since we're moving into more general territory, there's some questions about you and your process. So one of them is about what drives you to create.
I have always told stories. It's just kind of been, this is the thing I do. It's never occurred to me not to tell them. And not all of them are actually particularly good stories. I've told some stories that are stupid. But I just kind of, it's just the way I kind of process the world. It might have something to do with trying to deal with the kind of fundamental absurdity of being alive. So my process is to usually have a kind of a general idea, and I try to come up with an opening scene, and I'll write that opening scene, and then see, okay, does that work? And if it does, try to imagine two things. One, what's going to come immediately next after the scene, and then also to imagine something that's 4 or 5 chapters down the line. What am I aiming toward? What am I trying to get at? That's the stories. Music is a whole other thing. Music, sometimes music will start with a riff. Usually the lyrics don't come first. This was weird in that I had to kind of make a bunch of stories that are all loosely about Amelia and imagination. I put that one song, There Is a Reason, Being funny is no fun at sea. That was an older song that was not written for this, but it felt like it would fit in pretty well. But normally music comes from just, I don't know where. Like the terror chord, for instance, this thing just, I just woke up and I had part of that melody in my head. I had this other thing that happened one time. Actually, I'll walk you through this. So I dreamed that, I had this crazy ass dream that, so I'm in this haunt, like Dracula's castle, and there's this breathing going on in the dream. I'm going, and this kind of song is haunting through the thing. And I go into the Frankenstein's chamber, and there's Mr. Rogers in an iron lung. He looked at me and he said, "In my mind, I'm going to Transylvania." So I woke up.
As one does.
I woke up and I went to the piano and I recorded. Here, I'll do it for you. I'll do it real quick. I haven't rehearsed this, so this isn't going to be all that good. But you know, I just recorded the melody and wrote down as many of the lyrics as I could. And it's not a long song. In my mind, I'm going to Transylvania. Bats are hanging down from every tree. It's a lot like Scranton, Pennsylvania. Everybody's trying to get free. Mr. Rogers in an iron lung sings a song that nobody else has sung. In my mind, I'm going to Transylvania. Everybody's trying to get free. So where did that come from? That was a dream. That was a dream, and I don't know. So stories I tell are very deliberate, and I'm trying to explore some sort of idea about, you know, something I've come up with. Whereas the music, hell if I know, man. But what a gift! How cool is that? I got a song. Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
That's amazing.
I knew I was looking for the helpers, but I was hoping it might be like something useful. Oh well, I've got a song now.
So as far as I understand, this idea of this kind of performance that you're doing now is a relatively new thing for you. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, you know, can you tell? I love to sing and play. And we talked about this, we talked about this in bookshop the other night about voice. Because in the new book, Cleavage, one of the things that I write about is so-called female voice. And when I first came out, this is 25 years ago now, I did develop a much more stereotypically feminine voice, which, I don't know, was supposed to help get me out of some jams I might have found myself in. But in the end, it didn't feel like me, and my voice has fallen down into this kind of more androgynous place. But the one thing I couldn't do for years was sing, because I it's definitely not Joni Mitchell, my voice. It's definitely a little more like, I don't know, Ernest Borgnine or something. But I remember I just stopped singing completely for like 4 or 5 years. And I remember just one day, I was sitting at the piano, and I remember thinking, "You're not going to sing like ever again? Is that it?" And I said, "No, get back in there, Jenny Boylan." And also, I just love the auto harp, which is the dumbest instrument in the world. How many of you have ever seen anyone play an auto harp seriously before? Like this, not on the lap, like this. Raise your hands. 1, 2, maybe, it's a lot of you. God bless you, folks. God bless you. I mean, it's.
This is auto harp country. I mean, it really isn't, but yeah.
Well, if it's going to be anywhere. Yeah.
You've come to your people.
Wow, I've got 20 people.
I mean, that's a crowd.
You know
right?
what that is? Yeah. So I love the harp. I almost never play it anymore because it's a very awkward instrument to play. My hair is always in it, and it's never in tune, and it's if you make one little mistake, you make like this horrible sound, which I try to outsmart you all by doing it on purpose. So this is a new thing. I did the Heisenberg variations at Harvard 2 years ago, and this piece was originally had a bunch of videos in it, which I was going to show one video while we were listening to something else, and it just got too far-flung, too far afield. I mean, it was still all over the place, but in a way that I felt had there's a little bit of glue in the middle, at least I hope. There was a thing it was very hard for me to let go of. I was going to show footage of the January 6th riots while playing it against the recording of Robert Kennedy Sr., his words to the crowd in Indianapolis at the night MLK was shot.
Oh, wow.
And to juxtapose those two images while we're seeing this terrible thing happen in the video, while we're hearing a voice say, what we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need is love and compassion for those who still suffer. What?
No, that's a spot
You didn't know I had a Bobby Kennedy,
No, I didn't know you had the
Yeah.
Bobby Kennedy accent.
Turn
It's
off.
sort of like lower Maine, right? You sort of like pull it down a little bit.
We choose to go to the moon and do the other thing. Not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Anyway, I was going to do that, and and it's really disturbing. I also had these, the videos of the Hindenburg crashing. I had videos of Amelia flying. I was going to use that wonderful Joni Mitchell song, Amelia.
Oh, yeah.
And then I thought, well, it's kind of like, that song is kind of like what you're trying to do, only it's better. So why don't you not upstage yourself? So yeah, and I did an early version of this talk for my family at Christmas, which included all the videos, and it was like an hour and a half long. And at the end of it, they were like, "Really?"
Well, this was extremely interesting and beautiful. I mean, I don't mean that. No, I don't mean that. I mean that very complimentarily. I mean, it's a very rich work, actually. Like, I sort of want to watch it again. Okay,
well, I can.
Well, we can all stay here, or maybe we can thank you for coming and doing such an amazing, original.
It's weird. It was weird, right? That was my hope.
No, it was amazing.
Thanks, everybody.